In this lesson, we'll learn about HTML forms and some of the common elements used inside a form. So let's get started. As usual, let's create a document and let's call this file form.html. And let's open this using our choice of IDE. So a simple example of form is just a form and end form tag, and now within that we can have inputs for taking input for that form. So we have already seen example of input type equals to text. So let's repeat that example. Input type equals to text. This time let's give a name for this input. Let's call the name of this input Q. Now once we have the form, we want this form to do something. If a user types something, we want the user to submit that form somewhere. So for that, we need to define an action for that form. So now this action could be one of the local pages, or it could be an absolute URL to a remote page. So here let's try the example of submitting our form to google.ca. And another attribute we can use beside this is what is the method for this form submission. And the most common methods are get or post. So let's use get at the beginning and let's see how it behaves. Now once the user finish filling up this form, he needs to have a way to easily submit that form. So let's create a button for that. So input type equals to submit. That will allow the user to submit the form clicking on that button. And we can use the value attribute for that submit button, and let's call this search. So that's where we have a very simple form. Let's open that form, and you will see that it's just a text field and a search button. Let's fill up that text field and click on the search button, and it will submit that form. And since we used get method, this attribute is appearing in the URL. Alternatively, we could use a post method. As far as I know, the Google website does not take post as an input from outside. So let's use the Get Me Hired website. Now let's go and refresh that page. And if I type something here, and if I click on that search, since I have changed the action to get me hired, it came to that page. And since I use post method, the variables are not appearing in the website. Now we can write some code in that page, in this page, to catch the content that we have submitted from that page. But we will come to that later. For now, let's look at some other HTML elements that we can use inside a form. So one example we have used is text field. We can look at another similar example for password. And we have previously seen that the password field, you can type something, but it will not be visible in the UI in that field. Similar to password, similar to input type equals to text and input type equals to password, you could also use input type equals to radio. So input type equals to radio, and what that will give is a radio button. So we are creating radio button for gender, male, female, and other. Now if you go to the UI, you will see that we have these radio buttons. Now one thing you will notice is that you can actually check any or all of these radio buttons, but similar to gender, there are situations where you don't want the user to be able to select all of them. You want the user to be only able to select one of them. That means whenever you click on the other one, the previous one should get deselected. And the way you can do that is you need to provide the same name for each of these fields. So in this case, I am calling this the gender field. So if I put the same name for each of these radio fields, they will get grouped together so that you can